Practice exam 3, part 3. We're up to part B, translations. General remark, if you look at these 7 questions for part B, you have 6 of the 7 questions are translating English to symbols. The last one is symbols back to English. Of the 6 that are English into symbols, you'll notice that the first 3 questions they state the form of the sentence in the question. Okay, so there's this very specific clue, if you know how to read it, as to what the translation should be, right? It sort of tells you the form of the translation. So I'm talking about the fact that 10, 11, 12 start like this. Translate this singular sentence. It's question 10. Then you have the sentence. Question 11. Translate this categorical sentence. Question 12. Translate this truth function of quantified sentences. That's very specific information in each case. That's true of the first 3 of the 6 English to symbols questions. The last 3 don't tell you. The next 3 are introduced with symbolize the following, which may have any form, use the same abbreviations. So, if you know what a singular sentence is, excuse me, right? A singular sentence shouldn't have any variables, right? It should be the propositional function attached to individual variables, right? And here in your translations, which you're given a dictionary, as you will be in the actual exam, right? You've got the translations there. There's one individual constant, G equals God, right? So God is the one named individual. So where does that go? That annexes to a propositional function. The other 5 symbols in the dictionary, they're all propositional function, like KX, X knows the future, CX, X can change the future. So it's when God's involved, it's going to be things like KG, right? Uppercase K, lowercase g means God knows the future. CG is going to be God can change the future. So question 10 tells you a singular sentence. So your mind should say, oh, okay, should be no quantifiers, should be propositional functions attached to individual constants, and just whatever the truth functional combination appropriate to the actual sentence is. When it's a categorical sentence, to translate a categorical sentence, you know it is in one of the 4 categorical forms. It's going to be A, E, I, or O, right? It's going to be either like that, right? That's one of the categorical forms, right? Or that's the A form, or like that. That's the E form, right? Or it's going to be like this, right? That's the I form, particular inclusion, or like that. That's the O form. Those are the 4 categorical forms. So you're already given a lot of information when the question says, like 11 says, symbolize this categorical sentence. The overall form should be one of those 4 things. 1, 2, without negations. 3, 4, with the negations. And similarly, question 12, a truth function of quantifier forms tells you the major operator is going to be either a conditional, either a hook, or a wedge, disjunction, or a dot, conjunction, or a biconditional, right? It's going to be, the major operator is going to be a truth function. The final result is going to be a conditional, or a disjunction, or a conjunction, with its parts as quantifier statements, right? So it is not going to be in quantifier form. You translate something and it comes out in quantifier form, starts with the quantifier, scope of the initial quantifier goes to the end, 2 conditions of being in quantifier form. Then you've made a mistake, right? That's not the form asked for. It tells you it's a truth function of quantifier. 12 says it's a truth function of quantifier sentences. Okay, so you don't have the clue for the next 3, but you do. Same thing's going to be in the actual exam. It'll have the same clue for the first 3, not for the next three. The next three, you just have to analyze the sentence, and you have to decide whether it's a singular sentence or a categorical sentence or a truth function of quantify statements. All right, so let's do them. Question 10, a singular sentence. God knows the future, comma, but he cannot change the future. Commas, if you looked at the symbolizations, commas give you an important clue to what the major operator is. And remember the three-step procedure for these translations. You identify the overall form of the sentence, right? Put that overall form down, because you want to get the whole point is to get the overall form in place first, to have your final result be in the correct overall form. So determine the overall form, put the parts in the right place, and then translate the parts, making sure they go in the right place. So this is, God knows the future, comma, but he cannot change the future. First question to answer is, what is this? What form has this statement? It's exactly the same question is, what is the major operator of this statement? It's a conjunction, right? The comma and then the word but. You must remember that but has the same logical force as and. That's from Unit 4, thinking back to Unit 4. Remember all those words like unless, which comes in play here. Just in case, right, these words, these sentential operators do get translated as symbols because they have the same logical force as our symbols. But has the same logical force as and. If I say this, but that, what am I telling you? That this is true and also this is true. I'm telling you that both these things are true. Truth conditions for the but statement, this, but, that, are the same as the truth conditions for an and statement. So they have the same logical force, so but gets the dot. So 10 is simply, okay, so it's, the major operator is going to be an and, so it's, God knows the future, but he cannot change the future. So you could write, if you're doing a partial translation, God knows the future in English, in brackets here, and then translate that. And this would be, he cannot change the future. He cannot change the future. Cannot, notice has the word not in it. Sort of should set off alarms that you're probably going to need a negation here. But I'll just translate these straight away. Right. God knows the future. Remember, translation has kx. X knows the future. Lowercase g for God. Kg, that's the total of the sentence, God knows the future, right? Just kg. No quantifiers, right? You certainly don't have a g in brackets or there exists a g. No, nothing like that. It's not a quantifier statement, it's predicating of an individual. It's a singular statement. That is, the left conjunct is a singular statement. And similarly here, he cannot change the future. See x can change the future. God can change the future. God cannot change the future. So that's it. K, G, and not CG. That's question 10. Question 11. A categorical sentence. There are actions which are not in vain. We have AX, X is an action, VX, X is in vain. There are actions which are not in vain. We're told it's a categorical sentence in the question. We got that clue. So what kind is it? There are actions which are not in vain. There are, the phrase there are should put you in mind of the existential quantifier. There are, the word are, A-R-E, right? It's plural of is, so it's asserting existence. There are, so there exists. And what type of categorical is it? It's particular exclusion, right? There are actions which are not in vain. Subject class is actions, things that are actions. Predicate class, things that are in vain. And we're saying that some of the things in the subject class are excluded from the things in the predicate class. There exists an X, such that X is an action, and X is not in vain. Please have it hammered into your brain that the universal quantifier goes with the hook, the existential quantifier goes with the dot, right, for all categoricals and the vast majority of quantifier statements in general. Very rarely do we put a universal quantifier with a dot because of how strong it is. It means that everything in the universe is this and that. Look back at the lectures, I stress that a great deal. Okay, so that's 11, that's the categorical sentence. It's an O form, if you're wondering, but that's the translation that you need. Always translate these back. This section, section B, always translate them back, right? Read back the symbols into English, make sure you've got something equivalent. This says, right, both God knows the future and God cannot change the future. Yes, that's what the first one was. This says, okay, first, literally, there exists an X such that both X is an action and X is not in vain. Some actions are not in vain, which is the same as there are actions which are not in vain. Good. Okay, 12, a truth function of quantifier sentences. If someone knows the future, then all actions are fated to occur. If someone knows the future, then all actions are fated to occur. What's the major operator? What kind of statement is it? What is the form of this statement? It's an if-then statement. It is a conditional. Okay, so the first step should be putting a hook in place, right? That's going to be your major operator in the final analysis, right? And if you wanted to do it thoroughly and in step by step as recommended, see that, right? You would write in here what? It's simple if then. It says if blank then blank. So you don't have to reverse the order. Remember, sometimes you do. What follows the if is always the antecedent. What follows the then is always the consequent if it says then. But if it's A if B, it's B hook A. Right? What follows the if is the antecedent, the thing to the left of the hook, even though it might not be the first thing in the sentence. Right? A if B in English would be B hook A. All right. So here, it's if something knows the future, then all actions are fated to occur. So here, the antecedent is something knows the future. Right? Something knows the future. Right? And here you would write in, and that's a complete sentence. Right? So it's just a task now. Right? The first step puts the major operator in place, puts the parts in their right place, puts them where they need to go in the overall form. As the antecedent, so something knows the future, write that in English, it now appears as the antecedent of the overall conditional. And here, if something knows the future, then all actions are fated to occur. All actions are fated to occur, appearing as the consequent. All actions are fated to occur, which is a sentence. It's a categorical sentence, right? Okay, and you could translate them now. If something knows the future, that is just there exists an X such that Fx, you can actually do without these brackets, right? This is still, that's still unambiguously syntactically correct if you just have exists an X Fx. Right. So, then all actions are fated to occur, right? All actions are fated to occur, so that is a form, categorical. All actions are fated to occur. For all x, if x is an action, then x is fated to occur, right? For all x, ax hook, fx, x is fated to occur. Again, through the chalk of the coffee. Right. Again, you can do without this. That's still unambiguous. Get that one though. All right. If something, something knows the future. Right. Kx. Sorry. Kx for knows the future. No mistake. If something knows the future, if there exists an x such that kx, if something knows the future, then for all x, if x is an action, x is fated to occur. If something knows the future, then all actions are fated to occur.